Hi, Allison and Anam and Hannah and Margaret and Mitch and Niharika and Shad and Shiva, Stephen and Zane. Hi to everyone joining us for tonight's webinar, this morning's webinar, Meet OUM Student Ambassadors and OUMSA Executive. So I'm Associate Professor Nicolette McGuire. I am the Associate Dean for Student Welfare here at OUM, and I'm joining you from Anishinaabe territory in rural tiny Ontario, Canada. One of the things that I really love about being in an OUM classroom is this circle that we get to draw collectively from Canada across the Pacific Ocean to Samoa, over to Australia, down to New Zealand, and back up and across through Hawaii and back to the United States. So I'm so pleased that all of you can be a part of that circle here today, and also to have both our student ambassadors, particularly our clinical student ambassadors, are here with us today. We have Wila Laifa-Lima, Manu Baines, as well as Elizabeth Mills. And our OUM Student Association, two of our executive are here with us today, Crystal Jesnick, who's the president of OUMSA, and Jessica Bell, who is the vice president of OUMSA. We are going to start this webinar with some questions for our student ambassadors. If you have questions that you'd like our student ambassadors or our OUMSA executive to answer, you can use, and you're a webinar participant, you can use the Q&A box to type your question, and we'd be happy to field some of those questions and answer them. So please, if you have questions, let us know. So we're going to start with our student ambassadors first. Our student ambassador program is a new program at OUM that gives new and prospective students the chance to connect with some of our more experienced students, our students that know a lot about the university, about the community, and who've had various experiences based on the locations that they live in and where the university has served them. So we have three of our ambassadors joining us today. We have Wila Laifa-Lima. Do you want to give a wave? We have Elizabeth Mills, and we have Manu Baines. So I'm going to ask a series of questions and allow each of them a chance to answer. And if you have any questions to ask, I'll pose those for them as well. So the first question that I'm going to ask that I think our prospective and new students would like to know is, firstly, well, where are you located and where are you at in your journey with OUM? So maybe Wila, will start with you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Talo for everyone. So my name is Wila, and I am currently living here in Samoa. I have completed all my preclinicals and clinical placements here in Samoa. And I have already set my final clinical examination that was done in April. And my last hurdle now is my OSCE on the 12th of November. And that will be in 3 weeks' time. And that will be done in Brisbane, Australia. Thank you very much.
Congrats, Wila, on that. Elizabeth, if you'd like to go next.
Yes, I'm actually from the US. I live in, I'm not from, but I currently live in South Texas, but I am actually in Samoa. If I could turn my video around, I could show y'all the hospital because I can see it from my apartment that I'm renting. I'm here for doing my last elective rotation. I'm doing a radiology rotation here at the hospital that's affiliated with OUM.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That's exciting. And I think you are our first student to be able to get to Samoa in quite a little bit of time. So congrats on being there.
Yes, I'm the first US student. I think there was someone that came from Australia a couple weeks ago. So yes, the first US student since COVID.
Wonderful. Manu, if you'd like to go next, please tell us about where you're located and where you're at in your journey with OUM.
Yeah, sure. So greetings to everyone. My name is Manu Baines, and I'm located in Perth, Western Australia, beautiful city here. It's fascinating to see how diverse everybody their backgrounds are, people are sort of located in different places and different part of the world. So I am a fourth year student, and I am currently completing my fourth rotation, 4 out of 10. So this is my third core rotation. Actually, I've completed internal medicine, OBG, and I'm doing general surgery at the moment. And I'm in Peel Health Campus, one of the Ramsay hospitals here in Mandurah, which is in WA. It's a little far outside Perth. But yeah, that's where I am, and I'm really excited. I'm actually going to Samoa as well next year for 4 weeks doing my cardiology rotation. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's fantastic. So Manu, what made you decide to want to become a student ambassador?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, actually. So the reason I thought about becoming a student ambassador, there are a couple of reasons. Firstly, when I was looking at applying into med school in general and OUM a few years back, there wasn't a lot of information out there. Like, obviously there was information on the internet and things, but I wasn't really able to have that one-on-one interaction or a discussion with anybody that had been through that process. So I thought, I knew for sure that there were going to be students in future like myself as well who, couldn't make their dream come true of becoming doctor for whatever reason due to family commitments and things. And I thought maybe, if I can join the student ambassador community, and I'll be able to guide some people in the right direction. And also, yeah, just, to give something back to the community in that way. So yeah.
Thanks, Manu. We're really glad that you decided to apply into that program.
Thank you.
Wheela, would you like to go next? Tell us a little bit about what made you want to become a student ambassador.
Thank you very much. So I aspire to share with my student colleagues and prospective colleagues my experiences and the lessons along the way, and the ways that I coped with these challenges. And I wanted to become an ambassador because I wanted to motivate and be able to influence other students to complete what they came here for. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, Wheela. Elizabeth, same question.
I think we all, like everyone said, we all have different challenges and experiences, and we don't want people to struggle maybe in the ways that we struggled, or make the path easier and straighter for other people. I mean, of course, IUM tries to make it as straightforward as possible, but they're not the student. They're the school, they're the employee. That it's sometimes hard to know exactly what we're going through because they're not in our shoes. So if you've been there and you have kids or family or have to move and all those things and change jobs and do whatever to survive and complete it, it's that's what we're trying to help with, and try to, again, make the roads as straight as possible for the people that come after us, and make the journey more possible. So we have more and more clinicians, more and more physicians that are able to complete the process and be successful.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I mean, the three of you are already in a pretty difficult time period of the program. So the fact that you're making the time to try and pave the way and make it easier for others is really commendable. So thank you for being part of this program. So one of the things that we hear from new and prospective students is they want to know a little bit about the OUM community. So how would you describe the OUM community? Are you just, is your whole education just you, alone and by yourself? Do we have a sense of community? What's been your experience connecting with faculty, with students, with others in the OUM community? Maybe we'll start with you this time, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think it's all kind of relative to the person. I mean, I know people that they found people that were close to them in their area, and they would connect and talk to them every day, or once or twice a week would meet up. So I guess it just depends on how assertive you are about being connected. So I'm kind of tends to be a little bit of a loner. I got my own thing going on. So I reach out when I need to, you know what I mean? When I needed help with something, they give you can, if I didn't contact the right person, I'd be like, I don't know if I'm talking to the right person about this, but let me know. And they would tell me who I needed to connect with. And then, different places along the journey, I'd meet people in class, because sometimes you have courses where you're having to communicate online. So you'd find people like, oh, okay, I see they're kind of like me. They're their personalities like me. So you find people to connect with, and maybe you talk to them after that, or maybe you don't. Either way. And then of course during like clinical rotations, it's been, I went to South Texas to do most of my rotations at the time, which was a place that we could go. And so I got to meet people there, which was really great. And then even since I've been here in Samoa, I've met some of the ladies or some of the students, so that are really nice. I haven't met Uila yet. We've connected, but she's been out of the area. So it just, again, I think it depends on your personality, how much you like to talk to people and communicate, how much support you want. You have all that. Like you have as much as you want or as little as you want.
I think that's interesting because, you can be an introvert and have that well supported, or you can put yourself out there and make stronger connections with others. So thanks for that. Wheela, same question. What would you say about, and how would you describe the OUM community? I think your experience will be a little bit different than Elizabeth's, just based on where you're located in the community that you have access to. So how would you describe our community?
So thank you very much, Professor McGuire. So from my experience, the OUM community has been tremendous throughout my time in the program, and having academic and clinical advisors, course coordinators, the professors, our country dean, and all the faculty to encourage and advise me to keep on going and make me understand in whatever course I took, or any preparations for exams or whatever classes. So when I have technical problems from afar, the OUM community are there when I needed help. So the OUM community has been very helpful throughout my journey. And they listen to the students and they take us seriously. And they have helped me, and they would help you in any way as well, and make sure you are satisfied with whatever problem you will be going through. And I am very happy to be meeting with Elizabeth tonight. So yes, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wheela. I think, based on our size, we do get to have a lot more one-to-one interaction between students and our faculty and staff. So I think that's, something that can help some students at various points in their career. So Manu, how would you describe the OUM community?
Yeah, it's been great. So obviously in my preclinical years, there was a lot of support there from the faculty, especially. I didn't know there were so many students from Perth actually until I went to Peel Health Campus to do my rotations. And it's great to be able to connect with those students. There's about 10 of us actually rotating in different departments of the hospital. We go to teachings together. We have so many things, so many activities together. And it's just great, that sense of belonging, which I lacked during my preclinical years. Purely my ignorance, because I didn't know that there were so many of us from the same part of the world.
That's great. It's never too late to
Yeah, exactly.
We have a question in our Q&A from Shad, who wants to know, what are the advantages and disadvantages of attending OUM? Manu, I'll let you take this one first.
Advantages, there's a long list. Disadvantages, I can't really think too many of them. Advantage, obviously, it's a flexible program. You are in the comfort of your family. You're still able to work for quite a decent amount of time during your med school, which, virtually doesn't exist anywhere else across the world. You can choose any other med school, and pretty much the commitment is, you have to be available full time for 4.5 years. Whereas OUM obviously does provide that platform where you have the flexibility. You can come back and listen to lectures. You can connect with people according to your own times. And obviously, with the curriculum delivery, it's no different to what the other traditional medical schools are doing, because I've had 3 other degrees before I started OUM, and I've been like a mainstream uni student, and I can tell you that learning experience has probably even been better than those 3, to be honest, if not worse or equal. So there's a lot of advantages, and that sense of community is now obviously increasing as well, because more and more people are enrolling in this course, and so many people know about OUM. I was really surprised when I hit the hospital, because we've got 3 or 4 doctors that are already working in that hospital that graduated from OUM. So that great sense of belonging there. Disadvantages, I guess, if you don't have any prior experience of learning online, it may be a bit of a struggle initially. And obviously not having that sort of physical connection with the other students, you may feel a bit lonely initially, but I would say, you know, OUM has put in and implemented so many good platforms. You know, it's just, yeah, it's amazing really how OUM does things.
Thanks, Manu. Wheela, what would you say? What are the advantages and disadvantages of attending OUM?
Thank you very much. As Manu was mentioning, I think there are heaps of advantages from my experience while attending OUM. I had so many support from the faculty and even my advisors as well. So I also had a bachelor's in nursing. So I didn't have this faculty support while I was in I was doing my other degree in nursing, but with this, with OUM, everyone is here to help you. And I am very fortunate to have this opportunity. And for me, this was a scholarship opportunity for the Samoan students. So I'm very fortunate to have this and to attend OUM to become a doctor. So yeah, thank you very much.
We're very fortunate to have you too, Wheela. Elizabeth, what would you say? What are the advantages and disadvantages of OUM?
Well, like Manu was saying, you know, I was able to, because I'm having to pay out of pocket, and that's a challenge in and of itself. But I was able to work in the first 2.5 years of the book work, the didactic teaching, and pay for that and save money to try to help me support me during the clinical times. And so that's a big thing for me. And being a U.S. student, there's no transition. I'm a nurse practitioner, and there's no in between place. Like I was looking into medical school for years and years and years, and there was no bridge from going from nurse practitioner to physician. And I looked into it, and I was going to have to go back and get maybe 2-3 years of undergrad work in before I could even apply. So for me, the OUM bridged that gap for me, so I could immediately, I mean, I had to look at all my credentials and my experience, and I had to go through an application process, but I was able to immediately start med school. Now, that made some challenges in my sciences and things that I hadn't done in a while, but for me, that was the biggest thing, not only being able to, like Manny was saying, being able to work, but that I didn't have to go back and get more undergraduate work. And I've been practicing as a nurse practitioner for 11 years, and it's like other schools in the United States don't care. You know, they're like, it doesn't matter. You still have to go through all these things. Disadvantages, again, being a US student, most residency programs look at the school that you go to, and not being from Harvard or something, you know, they don't, that's an important thing for them. And it is a way for them to kind of control who gets matched. But, you know, a big thing is what you make on your tests, on your board exams. So doing well on that, and the school is just trying to find as many ways as they can to help you do well so that you're noticed and you're available in that way. So that's, I would say, a disadvantage if you're wanting to do, you know, neurosurgery or some really specific, you know, very prestigious, hard to get into residency. It's being from OUM might have a little disadvantage there, but I mean, if you do really well on your exams and stuff like that, I mean, that's going to help you, because that's important no matter what school you go to. You know, if you're going to do general practice and family and, you know, some of those, you know, more common, or I guess not as hard to get into, it's not going to matter as much. So those are just something to think about, you know, depending on what kind of residency you want to get to if you're in the US.
Those board exams, they do make a big difference. So I want to know a little bit, because, you know, prospective and new students are always kind of most interested in getting to the clinical years and knowing a little bit about clinical years. So could you each tell us a little bit about either your current, in Manu's case, or your most recent, in Elizabeth and Wheela's cases, your most recent clinical rotation? Kind of what was that experience like in your most recent clinical rotation, and what did you learn? Wheela, why don't you go first this time?
So thank you very much. So my last rotation was radiology, and that is what Elizabeth is taking now. So it was done here in Samoa, and my preceptor was a former OUM student. And I have learned a lot with the basic reading of x-rays and am able to identify pathologies on the x-ray films. So it was very, it was an interesting elective that I took. So, and I enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leela. Manu, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So, so I've just finished OBG a few weeks before, and that was an 8-week core rotation. So I actually was very fascinated and surprised when I finished, because I didn't know such a specialty existed which focused only on women's health and so much important. And now I'm just currently rotating in surgery at the moment. So it's predominantly general surgery. And I've scrubbed in a few times, went into theaters and assisted the surgeons with like hernia repairs and appendectomies and things like that. And one focus that's, one thing that's really been emphasized at the hospital that I'm rotating in is improving clinical skills. So we have regular sort of dedicated workshops for clinical skills, and we have a surgical registrar that comes and teaches us about, palpation, percussion, the basic abdominal exam, things like that. So that's been really a great learning curve, which I felt like, obviously learning online, there are some things obviously you're not going to be able to master, because these things take time and you have to have the patient in front of you. So so those are the things that are really have played an important role.
Thanks, Manu. Elizabeth.
Yes, so being here has been great. I just finished my first week here in Samoa doing radiology. And again, every doctor you work with is going to be different. Every preceptor is different. So some of them are going to teach, and some of them are just going to be like absorb my greatness. But that's normal. So a big part of it is your own perspective and your own willingness to just learn as much as you can, no matter how it's taught, not taught, be there, participate, engage, and sometimes it's figuring out what you don't want to do. Like, I don't want to be like that doctor over there. So sometimes that's just as important, is to find out what things that you maybe don't like about their communication or about their style or whatever. Those can be just as valuable skills that you learn. And, you can go to the best school in the whole entire country that you live in and have doctors that don't teach you anything. So it's, but I feel like, they do try to focus on that, and you can totally, when you're doing your rotations, you can actually report on that. I feel like this physician wasn't this, and they didn't teach me, or we didn't have time with them, or whatever it is. But here, Dr. Alex Klein, he's the radiologist here. He actually does like little lectures every day, with you, tries to make sure you know how to order tests, like what you should not be ordering for this thing. Like if you're looking for a bowel obstruction, he's told me like 10 times, do not order an ultrasound. So sometimes it's good that Ula knows what I'm talking about. He says it 15 times. But so it's just, I went back to medical school from being a nurse practitioner and lots of years of experience, because I wanted to learn more, so knowing that I didn't know a lot of things. And so it's been a really great thing to learn more. When you get done school and you're like, oh my gosh, that's why we do that. And I'm sure any of y'all have been spending medical field. I was a nurse before that. It's like, wow, that's why we do that. And that's why that works. So it's been, really cool just to learn and put things together and build your knowledge base. So, and I think all the physicians that I've been with have tried to do that and prepare me through the electives. But again, I think a big part of that, being with other medical students that I've seen from other hospitals that I've been at, it's really just a point of your decision. Like, I am going to learn, like whether this doctor wants to teach me anything or not, I'm going to learn. You know what I mean? I'm going to learn something from them. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So can I ask, what are you planning to do when you finish? What area do you hope to practice in? Why don't you start, Elizabeth?
Yes, I'm planning to go into surgery, so general surgery. So I've done a lot of surgical electives just to kind of boost that. And that's one reason why I chose radiology as well, because surgeons, at least in the US, depending on who you've been around, they want to look at their CTs and images so they can be better, more prepared when they go into the operating room. And so that's what I'm planning to do. And hopefully going to get good recommendations from my preceptors to apply at some of the local residencies, and also within the nation as well.
Fantastic. Wheela, what about you? You're going to be graduating soon. What are your plans and where are you going to be practicing?
So thank you very much. So I think after graduation, I'll be going in for as an internship And from there, I will be, I am very interested in emergency medicine, and I would love to go into a specialty to do that, and would be able to assist with the Samoan people here, because there's only one specialist in emergency. So yeah, I would love to assist that with. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mila. And what about you, Manu?
Yeah, so my interest lies in general medicine, and I would like to specialize, if possible, in either cardiology, endocrinology, or neurology. So those are my top three. But I do want to sort of get more exposure as I go through different rotations as well. And also when I graduate, work as an intern, and we'll try to sort of tackle different departments and see what exactly gives me the most satisfaction. But I think based on my current thought process and what I've seen so far, internal medicine is where I would like to specialize.
Oh, I think you would be really excellent in endocrinology, but if the other specialties take you, that's fine too. For those of you who don't know me, I teach the endocrinology system-based module, so it makes my heart sing when people are interested in endocrinology. But I'm very happy about internal medicine and emergency medicine and surgery for the two of you as well. So thanks for that. Manu, while we're talking to you, there's a question in the chat window from Zane about at what point do Australian students have to give the AMC 1 and 2 exams? So do you have plans, in your timeline, when will you be taking the AMC 1 and 2?
So AMC exams, basically, so they are after you finish your course, and once you've completed all your rotations, you have done your final clinical exam, and you've sat the OSCE as well. Then you get the qualification in your hand, and you actually have to send that piece of paper, that degree as per se, to ECFMG for, I think they do some checks and things like that. And once you've got the AMC number, and that process, I think, can take up to a couple of months from the time of graduating to the time you are given that AMC number. And when you do have that number, then you can apply for AMC 1, which is an MCQ-based exam. You pass that, and then you have to do the OSCE version, which is called AMC clinical exam. Once you've passed that as well, then you get the provisional registration, and then you can apply for internship. Some hospitals will take you on limited registration straight after AMC 1 as well, but those hospitals are becoming more rare now. So, yeah.
Thanks, Manu, and thanks, Zane, for that question. So I want to know from each of you, what's been the highlight of your OUM experience? And Wheela, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. So I would say that the highlights of my OUM experience was everything, starting from preclinicals to clinical experience, and how the knowledge and skills that I have learned and the pieces can be put together to make the person I am today. So I am almost done, and I'm grateful to my advisors, my course coordinators, and all the faculty for their wealth of knowledge that has been shared with me during my journey. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Wheela. Elizabeth, what about you? What's been your highlight so far?
I think I kind of mentioned it already, but for me, it's filling the knowledge gap with both what I've learned in my studies, in the coursework, and in my rotations. It's like, that's why the whole reason I went back is because I knew there was a gap in between what I do every day as a nurse practitioner and like even the whys and more differentials, like, what's going on with this patient, what's potentially going on with this patient, but it like closing that gap just a little bit, because you never really finish closing that gap of knowledge. But feeling like I know that I'm giving better care because I understand medicine better. I understand, microbiology better. I understand why this drug's going to work. I understand all the potential things that could be going on. I'm learning, you're learning all that more, knows that you're giving. I know that I'm giving better care, higher quality care. Not that I wasn't before, but when you have more to give to your patients, you can be safer, you can be better. And that's been a real gift. And I know it's not, yeah, it's for me, but it's for my patients. And that's been one of the biggest things for me.
That's so wonderfully described, Elizabeth. We hear that a lot from nurse practitioners that talk about this gap in knowledge. They know there's a gap there. They know there's more that they could learn and do, but it's not something that they could do on their own and with their own level of study. And so coming to medical school provides a way to fill that and to provide the best possible care to patients for those, select few that have that drive to improve. So, but thank you for saying that. Manu, what about you? What's been your highlight of your OUM experience so far?
So a few things during preclinical years, the level of support that I received from faculty and all these platforms that we've got. So that was great. That was fascinating. And then I'm really impressed by the curriculum itself, the level of knowledge that we are equipped with towards the end of it, how comprehensive the course is. And obviously, when you start your clinical rotations, you hit the clinical world and you actually feel that this is why, OUM students in hospitals, they've got so much respect. I mean, consultants love to go with us and, they take us for ward rounds and they do this one-to-one teaching and things like that. It's just amazing because, the level of knowledge that we have got from finishing this course, is truly, it's unbelievable. So that's been the highlight.
Thanks, Manu. We do have a couple of our preclinical students here, and there's a few questions about preclinical in the Q&A. So I want to get to that. But I have one kind of final question for you, clinical student advisors, which is, what advice would you give to students who are applying to OUM? And Wheela, why don't we start with you?
So thank you very much. So my greatest advice is for all of you. So for me and my journey, I came to OUM to become a doctor, and it felt like I entered OUM yesterday and am now almost there. And if you are here to develop yourself and to become a doctor and be able to serve your respective communities, do it well and have faith that your journey will be the best. And we have to utilize the resources that OUM has to offer. Have proper time management and be able to manage your time wisely. And you will be, and of course, you'll be needing more time for reading and studying. Ask questions when in doubt, communicate early, and do not leave things at the last minute. You have to attend classes, live classes, so that you have to communicate with your lecturers and your course coordinators as well. And for the exams, do not take your exams in the last hour in case you may encounter any or some technical difficulties. And of course, that will be a stressor for you. And lastly, all the best, and hope you will enjoy it the same way or better than my time when I was here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Wheela. I love that practical advice in there. So Elizabeth, what advice would you have?
Don't hesitate, just do it. I mean, the situation is never going to be perfect to start school again. So I'm grateful. Part of me is like, oh, I wish I would have done this 5-10 years ago, but I'm grateful that I'm getting through the process now. But just start it. It's never, no matter what you believe, I'm sure a lot of different beliefs talk about no timing is ever going to be perfect for everything. So that's a big thing. It doesn't mean don't plan and don't have an idea, because you do definitely need to plan some things for all this is how this is going to put your life in a complete upheaval, but and your family and things like that. But don't make a plan, do it, just jump in, get started. You're gonna fumble around, you'll make a mess, but you'll figure it out. You'll find the right people to help you, and you're going to get better at it. You're never going to be good at something if you never try it, if you never do it. You're not going to be. I had to learn how to be a student again after 10 years of not being a student. So that was hard, but you figure it out. It's not the same way. I'm not the same student I was when I was in my 20s. So, and that's okay. I've been more gracious with myself about this process and learning and changing and the demands of what it is. And I've had to have, and also just communicating with your family and friends that you're not going to be able to be the same version of yourself that you are now when you're not in medical school as you will be in that time frame. So in trying to go ahead and let them know that there's going to be a lot of changes and you don't exactly know what all those are going to be. But getting your family support or your spouse or loved one and getting them on board. Don't just do this in and of your own volition, because that's gonna cause more problems. So, but it's a good journey, and I totally encourage people to do it. I say don't. Again, I wish I would have went back to school a long time ago, because I'm really grateful that I'm here now. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And thank you, Wheela and Manu as well, for sharing your experiences and taking this time with honesty and grace and a little bit of humor to speak with our prospective and new students. So please stick around. I think if there are some questions relative to you in the Q&A that we haven't got to, if you guys wouldn't mind answering those. I'm going to move on and talk a little bit to our OUMSA executive. But if there are additional questions, please get those into the Q&A box for our student ambassadors. So Crystal and Jessica, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Crystal, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Crystal Jusnick. I am president of OUMSA, and my term will be up in March of next year. So it'll be 1 year. I have been a nurse for 22 years and a nurse practitioner for 17 years. And I'm along the same lines as Elizabeth. I was hesitating going back. I always wanted to go to med school, and finally just pulled the trigger and did it. And OUM's been a great fit. So it's a great experience. And I am in Illinois, and everybody's going to think Chicago, but I am in very southern Illinois. So I'm right next to Kentucky. So thank you.
Thanks, Crystal. Jessica, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Bell. I am a second year student at OUM and Vice President for the OUMSA, and I work alongside Crystal and the rest of our delegates. I am in Brisbane, Australia, married. I have 2 kids under 3 who keep me very busy along with my studies. I work as a paramedic, and I have for about the past 14 years.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to both of you. I know we have very full plates, so thanks for joining us today. So Crystal, could you tell us a little bit about what OUMSA does, the OUM Student Association, and what benefits it provides to students?
Sure. So OUMSA is a section of the American Medical Student Association, AMSA. And so with AMSA, they help us greatly. Most people think it's just the American Medical Student Association, but after speaking with so many people at AMSA, the great thing is they help all the international students too. So they will help you in any way or form. If you want to have assistance in passing your country's boards, whatever it is, they can help you prepare for that. For OUMSA, we're here to help the students. We're here to guide you if you need help with a professor and you're not sure who to go to. We've helped with that. Jessica was integral in developing the ambassador program, so thank you to her. And so we're developing things that help the students out more so each and every day. We're working on a mentor student to student mentor program. So basically we're here to give opportunities to the students and help the students navigate the way through med school.
Thanks, Crystal. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
No, lovely put.
Thanks. So a couple of questions for the both of you, since you're both preclinical students. We have two questions in the chat window. The first is from Anonymous, which is, how would you describe the preclinical modules? And there'll be some changes coming up, but that's fine. The subject matter is still the same. And how many hours are recommended for independent study during the preclinical phase? That's from Shad. So Jessica, why don't you go first? A little bit about preclinicals and the amount of study time that's recommended.
Yeah, so I was one of the first student groups to come through and do the introduction to medicine. So I found that course particularly highly valuable. So it does go through all the basic concepts of chemistry, biology, and genetics. and they are integral to the program, and you'll see them come up time and time again. So I just, yeah, can't thank OUM enough for adding that particular course, because for me, you know, it had been a few years for me in terms of biology. Coming back to that subject, I had never touched on chemistry, so that was a big learning curve. But yeah, highly valuable, and you'll see it again right up through your SBMs. You'll touch on these same things that you learnt in ITM. The course is changing. OUM's constantly taking on feedback from the students about how things can be improved. I've seen some of the changes that are coming in the future, and I'm quite jealous about, you know, the things that the students, incoming students, are going to have those changes in their program that we didn't have, and I can just see how much benefit you're going to get from these changes. In terms of the hours that you put in, this is med school. It is a full-time job, essentially. Many of us still do manage to work full-time and study full-time. It's always a struggle trying to find more hours in the day. But, you know, sometimes that does mean you're up until late, or you're up early before work, or you're finding time in your lunch break. But some courses, I think, depending on your own personal knowledge, you might find a little easier. So some, just given my background, I've found maybe I only needed to put in, say, 30 hours, but some take neurology. For example, I had to put in like 50, and it still didn't benefit me a lot. But yeah, you'll just take it, you know, as you go, but I would recommend at least 40.
Crystal, over to you.
I was 2 classes, I believe, before they had ITM, so I did not get that. So I am actually quite jealous that ITM does exist now, because I think it would have been definitely beneficial for me, because I had been out of any type of science degree for quite some time. So it would have been nice for review. But so for my sciences, I would say I put forth a little extra time of study. SBMs for me, the system-based modules are more of what I do on a daily basis. So I'm saying I probably have to study at least 40 hours a week, sometimes more, as just said, neuro. And I'm in hematology, immunology right now. That's definitely taking a lot more time also. So you definitely have to be prepared to study. I do work full time. It is a struggle. And Elizabeth had said it earlier too, make sure your family and friends know that it's not going to be the same. You're not going to be able to go to every dinner party. You're not going to be able to go out whenever everybody else is going out. So it's manageable, but you just have to be very regimented, is how I feel. My calendar is mapped out every single day.
Thanks both. So just to give a little bit of information for those students joining us today who are going to be new in 2301 or who are applying for 2302. So the introduction to medicine is being replaced by a general principles course that will include biology and chemistry, as Jessica was describing, but additionally we'll have anatomy and physiology and immunology and biochemistry, kind of your basic biomedical sciences, and then that will be followed by your systems blocks that will have, for example, the cardiovascular system, and then we'll integrate anatomy and physiology and pathology and pharmacology and so on. So the course structure will be a little bit different, but based on student feedback and the growing needs of our student body, those courses are being enhanced a bit as we go forward, but always building and improving upon the curriculum. So I want to know a little bit, I'm going to go back to OUMSA for a moment and ask you, Crystal, how can students join OUMSA and get access to some of the benefits? We have some attendees here who are going to be new students coming up in 2301 and some students who joined in 2202 as well. So can you tell us a little bit about how to join OUMSA?
Absolutely. So if you want to join OUMSA, you actually go to the AMSA website, and it should be like www.amsa.org. And there you pay, I believe it is $70, and that is good for your full medical school career. And then when you are asked to put in your medical school, that's when you will be assigned to OUMSA. It's very easy. The benefits, not only from OUMSA side, because I feel there are many benefits. Dr. McGuire and I get to talk quite a bit about students that'll bring me problems that they don't feel like they want to go to the instructors about. So I've speak with Dr. McGuire, speak with Dr. Boone on a regular basis. But there are a lot of also discounts that can be utilized. I know Up to Date is hugely discounted, but there are also other programs they offer. They offer programs for free on how to match. They offer programs for free on how to make it through medical school. So I think it's definitely beneficial to join. Plus you do get the representation on the OUM side. So I think you're getting a benefit both ways. You can join at any point in time. You don't have to be a brand new student. You can have already been a student. So I personally recommend it. I have enjoyed it. I actually joined when I was going through my orientation. We had a student speaking about it. So I went on and joined at that point in time and started using it to my advantage. So I highly recommend it. I don't know if Jess has any other input on the benefits of it, but that's what I think of it right now. So thank you.
So can I ask both of you, maybe Jessica, you can answer first. What made you decide to run for office with OUMSA? You already have very full schedules as preclinical students. You also have community and professional responsibilities on top of that. So what kind of prompted you and motivated you to run for office in OUMSA?
I think for myself, when I started at OUM, I was always passionate for advocating for the student body and engaging with the faculty to seek positive change. And I was doing this on a regular basis. So when it came time to run for the election, I had some encouragement from faculty and other students. And then I decided to run for an official position.
Thanks, Jessica. Crystal.
So I actually was treasurer last year, and I got into OUMSA. So once again, I could be an advocate for students. Obviously, going in the medical field, you like to advocate for people, you like to help people. So I just was looking for a different arena to be able to do it within the medical school. So I was treasurer last year. I got very close with the president last year, and she had talked to me about possibly running for president. So after getting the nominations, I then went ahead and accepted the nomination and ran for president. So
Thanks. Jessica, there is a question for you in the chat window. Sadaf says, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here and share valuable advice with us. Jessica, could you please elaborate on what you were saying about better opportunities or better things available to students now compared to when you were enrolled? And maybe I'll ask you specifically maybe to mention the student magazine.
Sure. I was going to say you might be able to answer some of that question a little bit better than me, because I have a feeling that it's sort of just aimed a little bit more to changes in the preclinical curriculum. But I have seen that a lot of the blocks are just changing in terms of their order, and the structure of them, I think, just looks a lot better. And the amount of time. So I did see like SBMs in the future look like a lot of them will be lengthened out. So for instance, neurology will move from being a 6-week to a much longer block, which I think will be highly beneficial. It's such a complicated system. It's fascinating, but there's a lot of work to do in it. And if I could have my time again, I'd love to go back and have a 12-week block, because I could just see the benefits would be immeasurable, I think, compared to what we were able to fit in a 6-week space. But yes, so there is a student magazine. We did launch the first issue in July this year. The second issue is about to come shortly. That's through the platform Issue. And we do put those out on a quarterly basis. But basically, the OUM student magazine was just a way that we could boost morale and engage the students in literacy. And then that platform basically just allows us to showcase students' academic and personal achievements, and then it just provides an opportunity to enhance your CV through publishing, which will improve, career prospects as well too. So I think in an online world, it's just nice to have a platform where we feel more engaged as a student community.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm just going to answer a couple of quick questions in the Q&A. One is about how long are the breaks between each module? They're up to 2 weeks. And the second is, do I need to purchase any textbooks for the duration of my study? That's a great question, Shiva. You don't need to purchase textbooks unless you like to have a physical copy. The vast majority of OUM students, all of the textbooks are available in Clinical Key, which is a fantastic platform. So you don't need to purchase textbooks for each class. You just go into the Clinical Key library, and all of the assigned textbooks are available to you within that library. And there's some great features in there. It allows you to do text to speech. You can have your textbooks read to you. You can highlight, you can make notes, you can do flashcards. It's really a wonderful program for that. So Jess and Crystal, what's been the highlight of your OUM experience so far? Maybe Jessica, will start with you.
So I think in terms of one of my highlights for my student experience would actually have been our annual OUM student conference. So that was held here in Brisbane this year and will be again next. So I just found that really valuable, meeting everybody in person and benefiting from the knowledge that the staff and alumni were able to provide to us. In terms of an educational highlight, for me, that was actually one of my poorest performances in an academic unit at OUM. So as we've discussed, doing our neuro SBM, it was fascinating but a very complicated system. And during this time, myself and my children fell ill with COVID, and then shortly thereafter influenza. But yeah, I made it out the other side. So I think that experience for me just really highlighted my dedication to a career in medicine. And I think in a way it assured me that even when everything goes wrong, I can still make it through this, and I think we all can. So
definitely shows you how tough you are. Crystal, what about you? What's been your highlight of your OUM experience so far?
I think it's kind of twofold for me. As Elizabeth had said earlier, since I've been a nurse practitioner for a really long time, and you don't know what you don't know. So just getting the amount of knowledge I'm getting is amazing to me. That is a huge highlight because I feel so different now. I feel like I can take amazing care of people comparatively. Not that I was taking bad care of people, but I feel like having this different ball of knowledge is just crazy to me. But the other thing is I know we're in an online platform, but I have made some of the best friends of my life. And I've talked to doctors who have gone to school in a traditional medical school setting, and they obviously say they make some of the best friends of their lives. But in today's day and age, it's possible. I FaceTime my friends from class all the time. We study together. So just because this is online and you're not in a classroom setting doesn't mean that you can't meet some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. So I think that's been a great thing for me. I've just met people that I would have never in my whole life met before. So that is a wonderful thing for me.
there's a certain amount of camaraderie that must come from people who have to study 50 hours a week every week for 2 years at a time. So thanks for saying that. So there's a question in the chat window about USMLE, and do preclinical modules cover questions similar to the USMLE? So I'm going to answer a little bit of that, but I'll pass it to you, Crystal, as well. So the instructors at OUM do use USMLE question guides in terms of the structure of question stems and answers. So you do get exposure to USMLE style questions in the preclinical modules. OUM also has 2 USMLE prep courses that are specifically geared towards your preparation for the USMLE and include multiple choice questions, but so much more. So there's one for step 1 and a second for step 2. So Crystal, what's been your experience? I don't know where you're at in your USMLE prep, but what would you say around preclinical modules and similarity of questions to USMLE?
I am 2 SBMs away from starting my prep. So questions throughout the SBMs are somewhat comparable to step 1 questions. I don't think they're totally comparable, and that's why we use supplementations like Lecturio to prepare us. I think that the professors tried to get them as close as possible, but obviously they don't write step 1, so they can't make them exact. But I think they're very close, and I think they will get you prepared. But I do use some supplementation also to help prepare me for my exams. So I think the SBMs get you as close to preparing as you're going to be able to get. And Elizabeth probably knows just as well as I do. I think we've had a little bit of a change in our curriculum, but probably not that much from where Elizabeth and I have been. So.
Thanks, Crystal. So one last question for the both of you. What advice would you give to students who are applying to OUM? Maybe Jess, you'd like to go first.
Yeah, I think my advice is very similar to Elizabeth's actually. So it's just don't wait, don't let other people drive your education and your career choices. You need to take the steering wheel for yourself, take that step in the right direction for yourself. And, you know, the road to medicine is long and it's bumpy. So there is never a right time to apply. So the sooner the better. Take a leap of faith and you won't regret it.
Thanks, Jessica. Crystal.
I agree. I had looked at OUM for many, many years, and I just kept putting it off and putting it off. And I think that was the biggest mistake I had made. So I wish I would have just taken that leap of faith. And I finally did one day. So I agree. I think that's the best way to look at it. Just prepare yourself, but do realize that it's going to be life changing. Don't think your life will be the exact same. Everything changes once you start this process. It's difficult, but you can do it. As Jessica said, she found out how strong of a person she is because she went through, I think, almost every illness. That poor girl. She was sick in so many of our modules, but she made it through and she's a much stronger person on the other end. So I would recommend you just jump and go and do it.
Thanks. Jessica, Crystal, Wheela, Elizabeth, Manu, thank you so much on behalf of myself, behalf of the whole OUM community, the communications, marketing, and admissions team, and all of the attendees at the webinar today for sharing your time with us, sharing your experiences, and sharing your advice. So we really appreciate that. We appreciate all of you who attended the webinar joining us today, or if you're joining us via recording, we appreciate you as well. If you have additional questions, please get in touch with your admissions counselor. They would be happy to answer questions that are specific to your situation in particular. Our next webinar is going to feature Dr. Robert Dupre, who is a clinician who's practicing in psychiatry within the United States. So that'll be coming up next month, and you can get the dates, times, details, links from your admission counselor. So thanks again, everyone, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.